Hello, Play for Performance friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jolynn Ledgerwood, your host, and I am pleased to announce Dr. Erika Powell is joining us today. She is the CEO and founder of the Powell Consulting Group. For nearly 20 years, she has guided leaders and teams through transformative breakthroughs, bringing unspoken truths to the surface and fostering authenticity through arts, mindfulness, nature, and storytelling. Her creative systems based approach mirrors the power of hands on methods we champion with LEGO Series Play. It invites experimentation, nurtures deep connection, and transforms complex challenges into pathways for growth. Today, we'll explore how leading from the heart becomes a strategic, systemic act and how simple creative rituals can ground teams in moments of change. Dr. Powell will share how creativity as a method drives real behavioral change and sustainable performance. Dr. Powell, I'm so glad you're with us.
Ooh,
Yay!
yay. I need some like Price is Right. Come
Yeah,
on down.
exactly. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We met through Future Women X. And since I saw you and what you do, I was like, I have to talk to Dr. Powell. Tell me what inspired you to bring art, mindfulness, and storytelling, all the things into leadership and work culture.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Mm.
Well, I am a classically trained academic in corporate, and I had been doing learning and development for years. I was the head of learning and engagement and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think it was somewhere around the pandemic when I realized this ain't it. Like, we're not getting where we could really get to if we continue with these traditional, hey, here's a framework, and you're going to learn this framework, and then we're going to do some corny role plays, and then you're really going to get it. And having been in big organizations, small organizations, middle size, everything in between organizations, I realized we really needed to shift how we even think of work. Right. So I am a creative also by nature. I like to tell the story that I think when my dad asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I probably said an artist. And he, like any good middle class dad, said, baby, that ain't going to make no money. Pick something else. And so somewhere, I guess it was like 2020 when I really was like, ooh, I have to find a way to live from this place with companies. I'd been doing it, here and there, and as I would get opportunities, but somewhere around 2020, I just had this real mindset shift where I was like, wait, work is our creative act. It's like our most powerful creative act in I love to throw my voice in modernity, in these modern times. And that's what really got me saying, hey, if anyone wants to work with me, they got to be willing to do a little bit of the traditional stuff, but a lot more of the creative stuff, because that's where change, that's where transformation, and that's where breakthroughs really happen.
That's amazing. I could not praise and applaud all of what you just said because it is so true. Why do you think that's been such a struggle up to today? Uh, what do you think attributes to that being something that's not automatically part of what we do?
Ooh, that is a big systems question.
Yeah.
So, if we look at just the nature of work and the history of management, if you look at its origins, and we always have to go back to the letter A, B, and C, the beginning of the alphabet,
Hmm.
uh, when we really started to industrialize, we didn't think of work as a creative act. It was, we need people to be in a factory, we need people to get the job done. So the initial intention was not there of like, oh no, wait, we want the best of people. Now, when you look at the history of management over time, you'll see that somewhere around, I would say like the early aughts, maybe late 90s, the mindset in management started to shift where, and you can kind of track it where you'll see, like, remember back in the day, we used to call it personnel,
Yeah.
and then we called it human resources. And now you might see like human capital or human
Mhm.
performance.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good answer to your question, because it's like we got to look at how this was started and how it's evolving.
Yeah.
Now people are saying there's more of an acceptance and more of momentum to say, no, wait, we want our employees to experience well-being. We want our employees to feel engaged. We want fill in the blank. We want, sometimes it's framed as like, we want the most out of our people, which gives me the like, wait, pump your brakes, as my father would say, pump your brakes.
Mhm.
Um, like, yes, we do, but not at their expense, because creativity is, it's energy in motion.
Yeah.
But
It's
that's why and how I think we got to this, like, why don't we think about work as our most powerful creative act? Because that's not what the system was built around. And when you think about even the intersections of systems, school, K through 12, college
Mhm.
was really just preparing people to go to work. So it wasn't in our systems, it wasn't in the system consciousness.
Yeah. I think there's and you brought it up, K through 12, there's this very fundamental piece that especially elementary educators require our kids to have, and that's recess. That
Yes.
gives them a break from the work that needs to be done. And when it
Mhm.
comes to hours of education and can we change this or tax dollars for that, recess remains in all of our elementary schools. And it's, I think that's all in addition to an art class, but that's another form of creativity for kids. Why
Yes.
do we not continue? Why can't we continue that as we grow and as we get older and as we get into work, no matter what that looks like? So, yeah, very good
It is
points.
a question. It is
Yeah,
it is the question that,
yeah.
sometimes there are questions underneath the questions. I think when we look at the workplace, right? And I guess I could call myself a scholar of the workplace. I'm this interesting mix of creative and then scholarly. The question under the question, when people say, I'm not engaged in work anymore, or like, yeah, I'm just kind of here, but I'm quietly quitting, or I forget there's another term that they have where like, I'm here, but I'm not here, but I'm not going to tell you that I'm not really here.
Right.
Okay. Um,
Right, exactly.
I think that that's really what's under that. And that's when we can go to that place of underneath, magic happens.
Yeah, I love that. So, what does creativity look like for you when you go into some of these places, and how is it embraced by those that you work with?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question, because for me, creativity has no limits.
Mhm.
Creation has no limits. And my work, I really try to take the time to listen and see what is it that the organization or the team or whoever has brought me in, what is it that they are actually grappling with?
Mhm.
Right? What do they want to solve for? What's the real emotional need? Because when we play in the creative space, we have to tap into the emotions. And what's the business objective? And from there, it could be anything from something simple as let's paint together and have a dialogue. It could be let's make clay shapes together to represent the conflict that we're having with each other, or to represent how we visualize or envision our future. It can be collage. Really, it's just a matter of like, what does this client need? That's always the creative question that I'm sitting with. I did a values workshop with a group, and how many companies, raise your hand if you've been in an organization, says, we have these core values. And they're in this really nice little strategic plan or on your SharePoint or, or wherever you keep such things.
Mhm.
But we don't know what they really look like, what they
Mhm.
sound like, what they feel like. And collage is a really good way to bring that to life. So In that particular engagement, we actually everybody had a value, and
Mhm.
then they had to create a collage that then fit in with a bigger piece.
Yeah.
So then, in the end, they got this really cool art piece that showed, hey, these are our values. This is
Yeah.
what they look like, sound like in practice.
So when you give them values to either, like you said, mosaic, what you didn't call it a mosaic, you
Collage, a collage.
collage. Thank you. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
my brain just zitzed out. When you give them those or assign them a value or a core value, whatever, to collage, I can imagine that also may look very different than maybe what the leaders imagine. So how is that received?
That's the best part
Ah,
because let's say we're working with a value like respect. How
mhm,
many companies have that value of respect?
mhm.
Your version of respect looks very different from my version of respect,
Yeah,
looks very different from someone else's.
right.
And so part of the magic is to get that out on paper
Yeah,
and then have a discussion around it.
yeah.
So in that particular engagement, one person was in charge of that value.
Mhm.
And then when they presented, other people could add items from their pile to say, hey, this is what respect also looks like. So it's a very iterative design process, as are most creative endeavors.
Yeah. So what about the person that says, I'm not creative. I don't think I can do this.
Come to me.
Yeah.
These are the people that I love to work with
Mm,
because I didn't go to school for creativity. I went to school for analytics. You can go on my LinkedIn, you could go on my website, and you'll see, oh, she's a doctor in instructional technology and she studied cultural anthropology and intercultural,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah. All head stuff.
Mhm.
And I remember when I really gave myself over to this creative space, I felt intimidated. And I used to say the same thing. Well, I didn't go to art school. I didn't, I only just took this little workshop that somebody offered. And to people who say that, I really come back and I ask, can you draw a circle?
Mhm.
Can you draw a square? Can you draw a line?
Mhm.
Can you draw a squiggle? Then
Mhm.
you're creative.
Right.
Because it can be anything. It's that act and that power of making.
And I love how whether it's a circle or a square or a line, I mean, it may look different than what another person perceives as a circle, square, or line, but that's theirs. And so it's
Yeah,
right. I love
yeah,
that. And we see that a lot in our work. I just, because everybody can be right, there's so much value in that. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I think that's the other part of the magic that happens is that we learn how to hold that difference, right? How you envision there's an activity that I do from a colleague. She has a book, and one of the activities is to draw a shape
Mhm.
and then you give it an emotion. So
Uh,
draw a happy star. You draw a star, I draw a star. And the author's name is Rukmini Padar. So you draw a happy star, I draw a happy star. Then we come together and we look at our happy stars. That's actually where the movement happens. We learn how to hold the and, right?
yes.
Happy could mean
Yeah.
woohoo for my star. Happy for your star could be like, yay.
And to take it past the workplace, how much we need that right now in our society, that it's
Absolutely.
okay for us both to be right and have completely different views. And I love
Exactly.
how you said, and I do that a lot in parenting where I love you and we still have healthy boundaries. And
Mhm.
I think that's great in work. And I love your circle and look at my circle and how different they
Mhm.
can be, but they're still both right. Just love that.
Exactly.
Girl, we could talk for days about this kind of stuff. I
Let's do
love it.
it. Let's do it. The world needs
So, yeah,
it.
exactly. So, what about remote team development? How do you handle remote workers or people for teams that are operating from different locations or homes, if you may?
So a lot of the work that I did initially was virtual because we were in the middle of the
That's
pandemic,
right.
right? And
Yeah.
my background is actually instructional technology and design. So I trained. It's funny how life will put you in situations where you train for the thing that you didn't know you would need 10, 15 years later.
Yeah.
And so my background is actually saying, how do we facilitate and create and design a really engaging virtual space? You can do it with breakout rooms, you can do it with whiteboards, you could do it with just some really good reflection questions. There are so many ways to do it. I earlier this year I was offering these creative resets because at the beginning of the year, and I think even now, but definitely at the beginning, everyone was so tired. Like there was just dragging. And I
Mhm.
don't know when we picked up a little bit momentum, but now we're about to head into the end of the year. So people are probably starting to feel tired again come November and December. So I may pick those back up. But those creative resets were really cool because it was an open invitation for people to join me virtually. And they all had themes. So there was one where we did sashiko. We weren't actually sewing. Sashiko is Japanese mending. We
Yeah.
were just making lines and dashes. And I would give people a set amount of time to create, and then we would partner up with some really powerful reflection questions. And just the way the energy in the room shifted in the virtual space, it is very possible. Another one that I had was called Vibes and Vision. So
Hmm.
everybody was listening to their own, favorite song. And instead of like dancing to it, you would get a paintbrush or a crayon and just match your marks to the beat or to something in that song that really called to you. And it was just a great way for people to get to know each other because these were all strangers that had hopped online
Yeah. Yeah.
and to feel that creative release in the
Yeah.
midst of a busy day.
Yeah. Wow. And to hear you actually, I'll just ask, do you have any examples of really transformative or very impactful sessions that you've had? And what does that look like?
Ooh, pick a topic.
Ah,
They're all, for me, they're all transformative because people find expression in places that have been stuck,
mm,
right? Or in places that they didn't know that they needed to express.
yeah.
So, in one of the creative resets we did, it was called Sketch and Flow, and I did it with another colleague. And the premise was simple but very intimate.
Hmm.
You and me get on a Zoom. I don't know you from a can of paint. You don't know me from a can of paint, but I'm going to sketch you and you're going to sketch me.
Wow.
Yeah. And then from there, we would put words or just whatever we
Mhm.
were sensing into in systems theory. We talk a lot about the field
Yeah.
and we would, put that in there. So people would have this portrait and it was just really powerful to see people who, thought they looked shabby that day be described as radiant. And to see
Yeah.
eyes glow when a total stranger said, "No, you are radiating."
Hey,
So that's on like the individual space. In the corporate space, the example that I always come back to was there was a team that I was facilitating, and they had beef. They
mm,
were very upset, but they weren't saying that they weren't upset. Honk if
mhm.
you've been in that situation.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, we'll just
Yikes.
have this team retreat and we'll all be friends. But we're going to have this undercurrent of like, really, I can't stand you
Ugh.
because you hurt me. And so we did a few activities with clay, and we did a couple of rounds of processing and making clay sculptures, and then forming our sculptures together. And it was amazing because at one point we really got to the heart of the matter.
Mhm.
And one of the people on the team, I like to say, coughed up the hairball. Like the
Ah,
thing that was in the room that
yeah.
no one was saying, it came out. And the shift in the team was just like, whoo, you could feel it in people's bodies that, like, oh, yes, finally, we're acknowledging what it was. And it became a real opportunity for two people to repair and enter
Yeah.
into a repair conversation, and that team to support that repair, which was, there are moments, I think, especially as a creative, you might relate, Jillian, uh, where you're like, oh, wow, this is what I was born for. This
Mhm.
I am here
Yeah.
on planet Earth. This is
Yeah.
why I have pursued the things that I have pursued. That
Yeah.
was that moment.
Well, and you created a safe place for that to be manifested.
Yes.
And yes, there probably could have been other ways to handle it, but in that moment, for them to be going through the thoughts and feelings, and for somebody to have the safety really to say this is, and for other people to acknowledge it as well, that's huge. Like
Yeah.
that could have,
Yeah.
I can imagine that was a very big roadblock for that team to progress and move forward and to get it out, like you said, cough up the hairball, to get it up and out. It's just like, okay, so that's it, now let's deal with it and let's figure out how to move forward. That's huge. Like that's,
Yeah.
you can't put a price on that.
That was a game changer, because
Yeah.
when you actualize it or operationalize it, imagine how much money was lost because they were both holding this in, right? Imagine
Mhm.
how much inefficiency was in their system because of something that really needed to be discussed and talked about.
Yeah.
And when you were reflecting back to me, it made me think of something that my mentor says. His name is Lei Moon Hua, and I've worked with him a lot in the conflict space, especially around identity and difference and diversity. But he always says people want a different experience of each other,
Mm,
right? Like, I'm glad that you understand and you heard me,
mhm.
and I want a different experience of you. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that creative process provides us. And that particular example was like, ooh,
Yeah.
now we have an opportunity to co-create something different together, which is like insta.
Yeah, and it's work, but it's not the everyday tasks of work. And
Yes.
I may know you as a colleague because we work next to each other, and you come in late because your kid was sick, or you have to leave early because your husband has to work late and can't pick up the kids or whatever. But to put them in that different environments, even more so, just kind of humanizes us and makes
Yeah.
us, we're still human. And yes, I may be a perfectionist in my work, or I may work really hard for this, but to take me even out of that box and put me in a place where I can be creative and I can let out some of, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not creative. And I agree with you. Those are the ones that always just kind of surpass any expectation.
Right. They're the
But
ones
yeah,
that's like, how
yeah,
did you even have that on your bingo card?
exactly. What, how, yeah. A lot of people don't know that we have it in them until they're challenged to do so, and to give them that opportunity to see themselves in that light. I think there's so much value there too. Absolutely.
Yeah. And people have had so many negative experiences with creativity. That that boggles my mind. Whenever I start a workshop, I always ask people, I say, okay, raise your hand if you've had your creativity shut down or if you've had a negative experience with it.
Yeah.
And at least half the room
Mhm.
raises their hand,
Ugh.
being told that's ugly, that's not good enough
Mhm.
by a person in a position of authority, maybe a teacher, maybe a parent, maybe a family member.
Yeah.
And that really creates a pinch and lifelong damage
Oh
for
yeah.
the actual art of, oh, okay, we're creating art, but also think about how that shows up in the workplace.
And feeling that criticism can also dampen us from sharing more of ourselves for fear of that happening again. Yeah.
That we hold
Ugh,
back,
yeah.
right? We hold back.
Ugh, it just makes me cringe, yet I know it just happens all the time.
Yeah.
So, when you're in an exercise and maybe somebody is a little challenging, doesn't want to participate, or maybe there are criticisms, how do you handle those obstacles?
Well, I always love an art critic. So in creativity, there's a role for everyone, right?
Mhm.
There are people who are our makers who
Right.
like, yeah, give me the tools. I'll play with the koosh ball and
Yeah.
I'll give me some random stuff and I'll create a sculpture. And then there are the folks who rather say, hey, let me sit back on the
Mhm.
sidelines
Yeah.
and let me critique, right? Or let me see where this can get better. And so
Mhm.
in my work, when I do have folks who are really like, I'm a no dog, sometimes I'll invite them to say, like, okay, well, what are you a yes to? What part of
Okay.
this would you feel like you would want to engage in?
Yeah.
And then often if they're like, I remember one time I had someone, they're like, no, you don't understand. I don't draw. I'm not doing it. I said, okay, well, could you be the observer? Could you observe the process of what
Mhm.
happens? Could
Mhm.
you give the team some pointers for how to improve it? Could you contribute your ideas?
Mhm.
And I think that's the generous, generative part of creativity is that there's a role for everyone.
Yeah.
We just got to tap into, all right, what is the right role for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So we've talked about a lot today. How do you obviously you mentioned like with the collage you have a tangible object to say this is what we created today. Are there other ways, because I know business is all about ROI and we got to make money and it's got to be, I need to see this in order to get that. What other impacts have you seen that speak to the value to what you're doing?
One, different parts of the system start talking to each other. So I did a workshop a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2023 with the organization, and they are remote, but once a year they come together to have this annual meeting. And part of the feedback that I got was, wow. And this again, moments when you're like, whoa, this is what I'm on planet Earth to do. They're global organizations, so they're people in Asia, people in Latin America, people in Europe, people in America. That all of a sudden they were having these conversations. To me, says from a systems perspective, we need to learn how to quantify the value of what happens when the Asian region starts to have more contact and conversations with the EMEA region,
Yeah.
because now you're talking, whoa, we can innovate, right? You can put metrics on that. Oh,
Mhm.
we can create efficiencies. We can reduce the time that it takes to give out the grants that we give out to different organizations. And so if an organization stays in that conversation long enough, right? And if they set it up and say, let's actually do a pilot to see what happens,
Mhm.
you see the benefits right away. Innovation, efficiencies, just from a simple meeting where, oh, I didn't know that about the Australian group, didn't know that about the Latin American region. Boom. Now we've got um, things that we said were obstacles for years have totally cleared.
I love it so much. I love it.
And you can
Um,
put metrics to it, like if you had your HR or your engagement surveys or your engagement teams, you could look at those metrics and then
yeah.
play them out across time.
Yeah. It's a challenge that I have too is to say this is it's hard to put a value on those aha moments that you talked about and those relationship cohesiveness happening. It's hard to, well, that's worth this dollar figure. It's hard to put the dollar figure to it, but yet there's so much value there. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if the organization, I mean, now we get Dr. Erika showing up, right? So, like, this is the challenge with survey data,
Yeah.
right? The only way to measure it is to say, all right, 2 weeks out, 30 days out, either via survey or via interview, what
Hmm.
changed, what improved, what dollar amount could you put to that?
Gotcha.
And typically we're
Yeah.
hired to do the event and
Right.
then off you go. So there's a mindset shift of like,
Yeah.
in the world that I envision, wouldn't it be cool for there to be like a creativity position on a team, right? And they're sold, and it's not just in the innovation department. People think it's like, oh, no, we're not
Mhm.
just the innovation department.
It's for everybody. We want everybody to have that creativity. We want everybody to have that fun in their work and that
Exactly.
an outlet, even like to just. And I joke, it's more than just throwing some Legos on a table.
It
There's more
is.
to it than that. Yeah.
It is. It is.
So, personal question: what do you do for fun to keep your creative juices alive?
Well, every day I'll give you a little sneak peek. Every
Yeah.
day I commit to doing something creative.
Okay.
So I have a creative ritual where for 15 minutes I will either doodle, or right now I'm really into mandalas because this
Oh,
summer I got to apprentice with an artist who makes mandalas. Yeah, so she taught me how to make nature mandalas. She taught me how to make just a drawn mandala.
yeah.
And sometimes it's like that's the last thing that I do at the end of a
Ah,
long day is, all right, set your timer for 15 minutes
love
and
it.
go.
I
I'm
love
also
it.
a writer and a painter, and I just really have dedicated my life to living from that creative space.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So, two final questions before we wrap up. I ask all of my guests. The
Yes.
first one is, when was the last time you built with some Lego bricks?
Oh, okay. I could say maybe last week because I was at a friend's house and her son had a little Lego
Yes.
kit. Though
Love
he was a
it.
little guy, so he kind of was like, you could look, but you can't really build. And I felt some type of way about that.
Yeah, people are like, they're hardcore about their Lego. Hardcore. I mean, I'm the type, and I love my son to death, but he wants to build with me, and I'm like, this one's mine. You've got
It's the
yours.
thing.
Like,
It's the thing.
yeah, yeah,
It's the thing. I was like, wow, okay.
yeah.
I year old, I'm not allowed to do this.
My
Okay.
bad. You do
My
you, and yeah, I'll just
bad.
draw what you're building.
Right.
And there's people that I talk to that'll say, "Oh, I just toss the directions and build what I want." I'm like, how is that possible? Like, what are you? Yeah. And then my second question is, you have this large toolbox that you've accumulated your tools and your tips and tricks through the years of all of the work that you've done. If you could pick one of those tools to share with our guests today, what tool would that be?
Ooh, a tool? Ah,
Or an
like,
idea or thought or any of those things? Like,
okay, all
yeah.
right, yeah, because 'cause I'm like, now I'm literally in my creative, I call it my creative station, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I got paint, I got
Yeah.
canvas,
All of them. I don't want
like,
to pick one. Yeah.
everything, just one?
Yeah, just tip or trick that you've gathered over the years of wisdom and that you'd like to share with our team today.
For me, it's this idea of simplicity. Right?
Hmm.
People often think that creativity has to be this big production, and it does not. You could just get a pen and for 2 minutes, just
Mhm.
let your hand go wherever it wants to go,
Yeah,
right? And that idea of keep it simple. Keep it really simple. That's the tool or the idea that I would share when I look around at my little creative space and I'm like, yeah, girl, it's getting a little out of control on the simplicity front.
it's creative. It's creative. It's good.
Elmer's
Love
glue
it. Hey,
right here.
I love it. I used to have a whole lot of those too, and the kids have grown, so they didn't have like huge glue sticks like that when I was a kid. They're amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So
So,
stay, keep it simple and
mhm.
follow where your creativity leads you, because one of my taglines is creativity changes the conversation, and like I really do believe that. I will put that on my tombstone
Yeah,
at some point in life. But yeah, keep it simple and let creativity change the conversation.
I love it. Thank you. How can our guests find you today?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Erika Powell. They could also go to my website, www.thepowellconsultinggroup.com. I always love hearing from people. I get tons of messages of what people have created and what they're thinking. So reach out.
Yeah. Well, this has been a pleasure. I've loved our conversation. I know that we
Too.
could probably keep talking for another several days because your spirit is amazing and you just bring so much to the play space at work. So thank you so much. We'll catch
Thank
up with you soon.
Sounds good. Take
Thanks for
care.
joining us, everybody. Bye bye. That's a wrap on another episode of Play for Performance. I hope today's conversation sparked some ideas for how you can bring more joy and engagement into your workplace. Remember, transforming workplace culture doesn't happen overnight, but every small step toward play and connection makes a difference. Try one thing we discussed today, even something small, and see what happens. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who could use a little more play in their professional life. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations with incredible guests who are changing the game of workplace engagement. Have a guest suggestion or want to share your own play at work story? Reach out to me at jolynn@elevateyourtalent.co or find me on LinkedIn. I love hearing from you. Until next week, keep playing, keep performing, and remember, work doesn't have to be taken seriously to be serious. This has been Play for Performance. I'm Jolynn Ledgerwood, and I'll see you next time.